Come to me!
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to Versus Gaming, a game show where we discuss the latest news in the world of gaming, plus give you some insight into what it all could mean. Like always, I'm your host, John Zafir, and it's time to talk about E3 2019. To do that, I have my partner in crime and returning guest host, Steve Jones, here to discuss what went down at this epic event. Welcome back to the show, Steve.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, E3, we wait for it all year long. Oh, how are your impressions?
We can go into what I talked about last time. I think the first show we did was E3 last year, so It's been a whole year since that. Goodness gracious. I can kind of see how this show is starting to not be as important anymore. If you can see, Sony's gone. E3 was there in spirit, I guess, barely there. You can just see that this show isn't what it used to be, I think. And you can slowly see it's slowly fading out. Nintendo's not there. They do their treehouse same time, but they're not really there. And just the way the industry's going, we're really getting to the point where we're not going to need E3. We don't need a show like this anymore. People release it on social networks and everything else on their own time when stuff's ready. It's a big thing, and I still think we have a couple years of life in it and everything, but I think with the new generation console, all the streaming stuff and everything, I think we're going to slowly see E3 become less and less relevant.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
All right. I got to talk to you about something.
For those who are unfamiliar with the Electronic Entertainment Expo, better known as E3, this is the event where every gaming company shows what they have to offer the consumers on the world stage. The companies who participated in E3 this year were Ubisoft, Nintendo, Microsoft, Square Enix, EA, and Bethesda. Now, I had a chance to hear some of your general impressions. Let me give you some of mine. Watching E3 overall, I had an overall good time with it, but I see exactly what you're saying, in regard to the fact that, we're just pivoting more to everyone wanting to show their, what they have, online. Nintendo Direct blows up every single year. And most of the time, as leaks become more prevalent, we start hearing about games beforehand. We know what to look forward to. Everyone knew we were going to see, Gears 5 this year. We had a chance to see Final Fantasy 7 a little bit earlier. So you already can kind of predict what's going to come at E3. So there just really isn't that much of a surprise anymore. Granted, you're enjoying what you're watching. And it's a blast to watch some of the different conferences, how it's going to play out, what can we expect, updates on current games. What would you say are some of the things that stuck out to you?
So this year was the year of cinematic trailers.
Yeah.
We did not get a lot of gameplay at the conferences when they showed it to the public and everything. There's a couple that we're going to talk about when we break down each individual conference that apparently they had gameplay, but they didn't show it to everybody during the conference, which really I think hurt a couple games in the initial take that people got from them. Clearly, if you were there, hey, gameplay, great, but for the rest of us that aren't there, and if they haven't shown it now, still, it's like, okay, all I can do is take your word for it. Still has a bit of hesitation with that.
Yeah, so. It was kind of strange, because there were times where, we showed off the cinematic trailer, and then I go looking for gameplay. Okay, I see gameplay there, but I don't remember seeing that during E3. Or, they had showed cinematic beforehand, now we're seeing the gameplay. It felt very disjointed. Like you would think that, okay, after the reveal, all right, let's show you some gameplay right away, just to keep everything together. But this time, what I realized about this E3 specifically, a lot of stuff was shown way beforehand. And you had a chance to see either some of those cinematics earlier, see a little bit of the gameplay, or you see cinematics here at E3, and then you see some later. Granted, there were some we could talk about, Ghostwire, whether it's Tom Clancy. There were other ones that I had, Outriders, where it's impressive to see, but you do want to see some of the gameplay.
What is the game about?
What is the game about?
Okay, it's a group of people with guns shooting at some supernatural creature. Okay, there's 800 other games like that. What is so special about your game that you want me to buy it from you? You're not showing me anything.
Yeah, so you have to show that. You know, how are you going to get me invested on a game that I don't know anything about? That's really, really important, and I think it segues us into our next topic and the first conference that we're going to talk about today, which is Square Enix. First up, Square Enix, the company behind Final Fantasy, Hitman, and now the new Avengers game, A-Day, had a huge showing this year. I had issues with this company's press conference before and originally had it listed lower, but one specific game trailer shot it right up to the top. Can you guess what that game was? Final Fantasy VII Remake, baby.
You're not real. You're Cloud. I have a favor to ask of you. Run away. You have to leave. You have to live. You bastard! Yeah! Hold on to that hatred.
How was Square Enix press conference for you?
Well, definitely the remake, by all means, takes the cake for that. Going to the Avengers game, though, this is the one we were just talking about a minute ago. Where was the gameplay? This is one that allegedly had a huge gameplay at the conference, but they did not show it to anybody when they did this to the public. Situation online. So I think it really hurt the game in initial impressions.
Like it was when I was looking at the trailer, even as impressive as it was, you know, I was kind of getting Marvel Spider-Man vibes, you know, Batman Arkham City vibes. It looked good, but I actually were talking to a couple people and they were kind of confused. Like, wasn't some of that, you know, actually gameplay that was in there? And they were like, no, it was all trailer. And just the way the trailer was made and doctored, you would think that, you know, there was gameplay included, but it wasn't. So you're not too sure of what to go on because what they showed is impressive, but it's like you gave me my dinner, but I'm expecting the dessert afterward, but you didn't give me the dessert.
Yeah, especially when I hear people tell me that Thor played like Kratos with his hammer. I'm like, please, I want to see this. I mean, it's God of War in an Avengers game? Yeah, of course. I mean, Iron Man supposedly played like one of the things in Anthem. We can't go into Anthem, but I mean, just the flying mechanics and stuff like that. I mean, so each individual character had their own unique play style, and I would think that's something that you want to get out there. Say, look, we've got all these different characters, all these different ones. You can find the person that you want to be and go from that. And it seemed to be a really misstep, I think, not showing that at the conference directly.
Yeah, no.
And to my knowledge, they still haven't released it to the public for the gameplay.
No. It's true. You know, and just as I was watching, even though, you know, as impressive as it was, that's something that you just have to have. Especially with a title like this. When we saw Spider-Man, we got gameplay, you know, not long after that. You know, that's something you have to have in your reveal. And instead of that, you know, just kind of pivoting toward more Final Fantasy VII, we got 20 minutes of that.
Yeah.
20 minutes of that, which overshadowed pretty much their entire press conference because you're looking at the gameplay. And what else you get with it? You got a trailer also. So it was an insane, you know, just conference. You know, as I was watching, like everyone was here, you know, for the most part, looking at Final Fantasy. Avengers kind of caught me off guard, even though it was impressive. But that's why people want to come to E3.
The only thing I can think of is Square didn't want to overshadow their own personal title by an IP that they're purchasing. You do? That's the only thing I can really think of. We don't want to take any thunder away from 7.
I know we have to think big if we're going to make a difference. But not like this. I feel trapped.
It's just, yeah, you know, so I agree with that. It's just I'm kind of like, but if you think about it also, Marvel's really popular. So what do you mean you overshadowing like Spider-Man? Like, it was a console buyer just on its own.
Yeah, I'm just again, that's their IP versus another IP. That's the only thing I can take away from it.
Yeah, you know, it's Final Fantasy VII, just the franchise. by itself has a very special place in my heart. You know, I grew up, playing, the first Final Fantasy VII, played Crisis Core, Dirge Cerberus, some of the past iterations, saw the movie Advent Children. So seeing this game come back, we were watching E3 in different places, but when I was watching Square Enix's conference and they showed 7, I was literally like, Steve, what year is it? 2006? when they announced it way back then. Like, it was really, really crazy to me, and the nostalgia fields were just crazy and out of this world. And, seeing the gameplay, they showed off Tifa, Cloud, some of the different characters. They are doing this game episodic. Now, we don't know how far they're gonna go into the game. I don't want to spoil it, but I have an idea of where they're gonna go, and it involves a certain character that we did see in the trailer. But what'd you think of just from what they showed of Final Fantasy VII? Because that was pretty much their entire conference.
I mean, Square Enix is beautiful. The cinematics are going to be beautiful. That's just Square's MO. And of course, we got to see who we saw at the end in the trailer and everything. My major concern with this game is what you just said, though, with the episodic, and we're moving into a new generation. So hopefully with our PS5, and it'll be backwards compatible and everything else, because I don't want to turn around and have to buy this game all over again for PS5 after I've gone into, 1 or 2 episode situation like it.
Yeah, and then you have that would be the worst. You just get this game, then not a couple of months later, hey, Game of the Year edition for PS5.
Exactly. And that is where my first, as soon as everything ended, it settled and my mind got there and be like, wait a minute. And that was my concern from that. So
yeah, I can understand about
I definitely
that.
see this being a big bundle to do with the next console generation, PS5 with 7 remake.
Oh, that would be a nice buyer bundle. That would be. I already have a PS4, and I'm already buying the collector's edition, which is around $300.
Yeah, there's a lot of those collector's editions this year too. Yeah.
Which bills you want to skip out on? Ubisoft had quite a show this year, showing off games like The Division 2, Ghost Recon Breaking Point, Gods and Monsters, and Watch Dogs Legion. Normally, I'd expect to see another Assassin's Creed game, but that wasn't the case this year, surprisingly. Ubisoft tends to be one of those press conferences that I personally tend to skip over, but this year, they really caught my attention. How do you think Ubisoft did this year?
I think they did okay, considering it's Ubisoft. Like you, it's not one I jump out to go see. I'll come back, watch it after I've watched everything else. It's not one I'm going to worry about if I don't catch it live or anything else like that.
Yeah, like when I was, just watching the press conference, noticeably we were talking about before, like, hey, Assassin's Creed wasn't here. They said they were taking a break, but I had people calling my phone, dude, no one knew Assassin's Creed? Like, I don't think a lot of people...
I don't think people are quite used to that idea yet. We're so used to it every year.
And it's kind of like we were mentioning before, like if EA said, yeah, guys, we're taking a break for FIFA and Madden, people would lose their minds. Excuse me? You can't do that.
No.
So, like, Ubisoft was kind of in that trend of releasing Assassin's Creed after Assassin's Creed, and I fell off a long time ago. But with the games they did show, I was pretty impressed. Like, I think, without a doubt, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, was it not? Tom Clancy, Ghost Recon Breaking Point. It's such a long title. Breaking Point, I thought was incredible. I thought it looked really, really good. Now, granted, there's a lot of other shooters we could point to that are coming out, some this year. What were your thoughts, like, just looking at a Breaking Point? Like, what'd you think about it?
I liked Wildlands okay. It kind of got a little repetitive after you knocked out the story mode, unless you always had that group of friends to play with you. I'm worried about it kind of falling into the same thing. I think it'll be a decent story and everything. I'm just worried about replayability and any DLC that might come along with it.
Yeah, like, one of the things that I also peeped at was Watch Dogs Legion. And I enjoyed the first Watch Dogs. I played a little bit of 2. I played 1 throughout. I even think I may have platinum that game. I can't remember correctly, but I know I got a lot of trophies in that game. And for the most part, I enjoyed it. But there was no hook that I was like, Watch Dogs Part 2. I wasn't really invested in it. It seemed pretty generic, open world. Sure, you have the hacking element, which was, when Watch Dogs came out, it looked pretty cool, but it just didn't really have the hook for me. And this one, granted, you can play as different characters. They're trying to keep it fresh because the first character was a little bland and kind of generic. It's just a lot of these games that I did see with Ubisoft, they just didn't really catch me as much, even though they had ones that stood out. I have a friend, he plays a lot of Watch Dogs. But when you're doing a lot of these open world games, sometimes you can kind of fall into kind of that open world and kind of tedious nature.
The busy work.
Yeah.
And I think we had this discussion about a couple of these games before in different shows. I mean, it's just the same repetitive, fetch mission, or find these 3 things, go find this person, go do that. They have to have justification for the sandbox. And unfortunately, there's only so many things that you can come up with to keep people busy before you start repeating it. Now, like you said, Legion, it's unique in that you can recruit anybody. Here again, though, everybody's supposed to have their own unique story. So I'm thinking we'll probably get about 40, 50 of those. And then we're going to be the same people over and over again.
Oh, yeah. No, and it's just like, but that's the thing about Ubisoft is sometimes it's really hard for a lot of their games to stand out because you see these games come out year after year after year. Like they're pretty much, in the EA trend to the point where you may pick up maybe one Ubisoft game a year, but you're skipping over virtually a lot of times everything they have to show. But I did think that they had a solid performance. I mean, if you think about it, we knew who had the big reveal, at Microsoft's conference. But we had the Punisher guy.
Yes. And the dog.
Point as well.
And don't forget the dog.
Yeah, he had the dog too. So that was an element that I really, really did enjoy. I think that's also a good, marketing strategy. And sometimes if the actor's good enough, that's a good game strategy to have someone that people can relate to inside of your game, so it's not just generic soldier movies.
The main one I'm worried, or not shouldn't be worried. The main one I'm interested in, which we only again got a cinematic trailer for again, was the God and Monsters. I thought that looked interesting. It's supposed to be Zelda-like, and it's from the same guys that are doing Assassin's Creed. So it's got that Greek mytho and everything similar to Odyssey, a little more Zelda cartoony and everything else. So I'm curious to see where that one goes. But again, cinematic trailer only. So I got nothing to go on except you have this little Greek gladiator getting attacked by, a harpy or something.
That's the thing. I feel you just cannot disconnect the two. Like if you think about it, you get served, you expect to get, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but you only get peanut butter on it. Or you only get jelly. Or you only get one slice of bread. You need the other part of it, to make it work. And that's a really important aspect that what I'm looking at is impressive. I want to know more, but because I don't know more, it can kind of, phase their way out, of people's minds. But I don't know, maybe some of these companies are like, oh, we want to save more for later, but I don't think that's a real excuse.
That's the whole thing with E3. We need to make a spectacle. We need to show all this stuff. It's not ready, so all we have is a cinematic trailer for you.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I think going back to the beginning, I think that E3 is going to start to phase it out because companies are going to realize we don't have the stuff that we can all show at this one thing a year. Let's go ahead and piecemeal it out as we actually have it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's not count out Bethesda because they showed off some impressive games too. We had a chance to see Doom Eternal, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Deathloop.
This place isn't a paradise. It's a prison. Out here, we're trapped.
We're free.
In this endless, eternal cycle.
Nowhere to run to, baby. Got nowhere to hide. My life's purpose is on this island.
And I can't let this go on any longer. The more days I repeat,
The longer that I'm out here,
the more certain I am
of what I have to do. The only way to protect the cycle
the only way to break this cycle
is to kill you. is on my side.
Ghostwire Tokyo looked very interesting. After seeing Bethesda's press conference, I just couldn't get that game out of my head. What were some of your thoughts on Bethesda's conference?
I mean, definitely Ghostwire Tokyo was my takeaway from Bethesda. The thing is, the ones you mentioned for Bethesda, all of them, Bethesda is publishing, not developing. Bethesda as a developer had absolutely nothing to show this year.
Yeah, like I think it's so crazy because even though they showed them, this is what we're showing. Yeah, they're not the developer. They're just like, hey guys, we're still here.
we showed a battle royale for Fallout 76 and a mobile title going on the Switch.
Yeah,
This is not, no. For a company that has had so much bad PR and bad press, this is not how you hold a press conference.
Yeah, like it's just not the standard. Like even though what they showed, like yeah, you can point at as impressive, but they're not developing the game.
And if clearly they had somebody paid in the audience to scream and shout for them. And I think just about anybody could catch that after the third or fourth time. It was really bad.
I'm not going to deviate too far from Bethesda, but I just have to say this. When I was watching a Microsoft's conference, and granted, when they showed the Elite Pro controller, and you had all the Microsoft reps, everyone cheer.
Yeah.
Look at this control. I'm like, who is cheering for a controller?
Again, E3 is dying. When you have to have your entire front row full of your employees, it's a bad sign.
Yeah, no, it's very, very true. Ghostwire Tokyo, though, in all honesty, was one of the games that I remember 100%. You know, like, it looked very, very good from the makers who made Evil Within.
Yep.
And that's amazing. And I really, really enjoyed Evil Within. Part 2, a little bit less so, but I still thought it was a really, really good title. It captured horror very, very well, but also made it really, really enjoyable to play. With here, when you're watching the trailer, you're in downtown Tokyo. You're seeing people disappearing. You're wondering what's going on, seeing these spirits or evil spirits show up and make people disappear. And then we have Ronan Hawkeye from Avengers Endgame coming in to save the day. Would you say that's what really made it stood out to you, the mystique of it?
I really like that mythology and everything with the Japanese culture. I mean, Control. I've talked about a couple times. It's coming out here soon. So I really like those kind of odd niche games, and this definitely, kind of tweaked those boxes for me with what I saw so far. I really want to see gameplay again. Again, no cinematic only. But that's kind of, again, that's what we were doing this year.
Yeah.
But I have high hopes for that. I mean, if anything, the director behind it was definitely enthusiastic, and just that enthusiasm alone kind of sold me. It's something I want to keep my eye on.
We got to change the name from E3 to Cinematic 2019. Because that brings on to our next one, which is Deathloop, which I thought had a great trailer.
Oh, it was a great trailer.
But there was no...
Was it a movie? I mean, this is a great looking movie. That's all I got.
Exactly. There was no gameplay for it. And, I mean, we got some with one of the games, which was, Doom Eternal. But, I mean, Doom...
It's a sequel.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of know what you're getting. They can show some of it. Hey, you're getting more,
it's more Doom.
Violence, guns and all that kind of stuff. Which, I mean, it looked cool. There are so many shooters now. I feel like you only invest in maybe 2-3 max a year. Just because there's so many, and some of them drop off after you actually play them, and you get them for your roster of games to keep in your collection. So it's so crazy, we're hitting this, conference after conference, but what you're showing, it looks good, but it's so incomplete. I feel like I could give this E3 an eye right now.
I mean, it's got the Deathloop has the guys from Dishonored behind it. So again, I've got some faith based on that, but good faith only goes so far. I mean, we're talking about Bethesda.
And cinematics only go so far as well.
Bethesda, though, the pinnacle of good faith gone wrong this year.
No, it's very true.
So.
Very, very true. Now we're about to get to something next. A little bit more spicy.
But now, there are 3 rules to survive. Don't Don't stand out. Accept the past. Trust no one. The galaxy's changed. Whatever you do, don't reach within. Don't stand out. Accept the past.
Execute Order 66.
Trust no one. Trust only in the Force.
Next up, Electronic Arts. This company had a lot to prove when they unveiled Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order some time ago before E3. The fans couldn't wait to see more because it was a rather impressive cinematic trailer. EA also came with updates on a slate of EA titles such as Apex Legends, Battlefield 5, FIFA, and a new Madden. What'd you think of EA's more copy and paste kind of show?
EA barely showed up as it was, so.
They were outside.
Yeah, I'm saying they barely showed up. They were outside. This was probably, Bethesda was bad, but I still put this one as the worst press conference of the entire thing.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I feel like I'm torn in every single Star Wars game that gets announced. I'm torn because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I really enjoy playing the games. Granted, I'm not against saying the game is a bad game, but that doesn't mean you don't enjoy playing it, even if it's a bad game.
We all have our little games, our very little secrets, our things that we don't want to tell anybody we like to play, but it's fun nevertheless, you know.
Exactly. And, you know, one of the biggest games, I think no one can lie, the biggest game they did show was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the biggest one they showed.
Yeah.
For the most part, everything else was lather, rinse, repeat. With
Exactly,
FIFA,
rinse, repeat,
Madden.
DLC.
I mean, and we had a show on Apex. I still love Apex. It's kind of had its problems the last couple months. It's also probably because Respawn's been kind of split between this game with Jedi Order, and I don't think they realized that Apex was going to blow up the way it did either. So.
Yeah, like it kind of, how do you say it? It caught them by surprise. So that's part of the reason they're like, oh, we have to have more support, you know, for Apex and Apex and more Apex. With Star Wars, when I was watching, because we saw the cinematic beforehand, obviously, and granted, it looked pretty good. It got me very excited for it, you know, just for a trailer's sake anyway. But then I see the gameplay, and I'm watching it, and it's like, I would say like 15, a little over 20 minutes if I remember
Yeah, it's about
correctly.
20 minutes.
Yeah, so you're sitting there, and you're watching the trailer, you're like, okay, action, oh, nice platforming, oh, so-and-so is from the movie. And, you know, you're sitting there, and you're waiting for that amazing moment, like this is why you need to go buy this game. Because, you know, I'm looking at some of the battle mechanics, I'm like, cool, you know, what I would expect from a Star Wars game. You know, seeing how some of the enemies fight. It's cool, but I kind of saw that in the past other 5 Star Wars games.
I mean, there's lightsaber combat. Yay, good. All right, we've got some platforming. There's a little Uncharted crawling up on the walls. A stormtrooper with a flamethrower. That's kind of different.
Titanfall, we're running on the walls.
But yeah, it's like, where's the epic, you know, end to this gameplay?
The moment,
just
because
something.
Yeah, it was just really, really crazy because I'm watching it and I remember back with, the Star Wars, the Force Unleashed games, where they had, even though the games weren't the best games, divisive to say the least, they had impressive showings when they did show that made you want to go out and invest, want to go out and buy the games. They got you really, really excited. Even the cinematics, even when they showed the gameplay, it looked really, really cool. And the fact that we're in 2019, those games pretty much came out a decade ago. Why did this not grab me? Why did this not grab me? And I was feeling a lot of disappointment where I'm kind of like, the best thing I could give this Star Wars game right now is a 7, like a preliminary 7. Just because I expected a lot more. Like it kept you waiting, but there was no payoff, at the end of it.
And EA has a lot to prove with the Star Wars title. And it's not happening.
We remember it's kind of funny. Even some of my friends, agree with this, where the fact that I enjoyed playing Star Wars Battlefront 1 more than I did 2. Just because of EA's business practices with the loot box and all, how you unlock things and that kind of thing.
They're not loot boxes.
They're surprise mechanics. So, you had that. So, I think, in all honesty, for EA's press conference, aside from what they showed, with Madden and some of the others, they were kind of trying to hide out, this year, even though they were there.
Well, they didn't have a lot to show. I think they knew that. And, just...
What did you
We
think?
need to show Star Wars. So, let's make that the center point. We didn't really do what we needed to do with it, but we tried to show it. And then everything else was just kind of like, we're just adding to what we already do.
Yeah, but we hope you all enjoyed the Star Wars gameplay trailer. We brought Forrest Whitaker in to
was that supposed to be our big reveal in that?
You could have, there are other Jedi. You couldn't have showed someone else too. That would have given you more hype.
Villain. Something.
There's nothing there.
I mean, I don't want Vader necessarily because that's a bit cliche, but there's tons of other villains. You could have shown somebody, here's a boss battle. Oh, I'm going to have to deal with that person now. Or something.
Exactly. It looks cool. It's just, it didn't have, the substance behind it. It was very bland. It's like you order a double cheeseburger, I want to get I want lettuce, tomato, I want ketchup and mustard on it with 2 slices of cheese, and you just get 2 buns and the burger inside of it. That was what they showed with Star Wars this year. So, hopefully, they have more on that one, but, we've seen what happens when you get your faith, up at a level where you probably don't want to be with EA.
Visitation is not permitted.
Coming in swinging with their usual impeccable performance is Nintendo. They really are a special kind of company where all they need to do is announce a new Pokemon, Smash, or Mario Kart, and fans will give them a standing ovation. This time around, I was in that crowd clapping when they unveiled Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, we've seen Nintendo Directs before, and they're always so exciting to watch. How was it for you this year, Steve?
So I enjoy Nintendo. As we've discussed before, I'm not as big a Nintendo fan for some stuff. I enjoy a lot of the titles. Pokemon looks good. It's on the Switch. Great. Still not the Pokemon game I want. I still want that massive MMO type where I can collect all 1,000 or whatever Pokemon in one game. Probably never going to get it. I realize that. I just have to accept it. But it looks good. It's on the Switch. So, we've got that going. And I think we've got a good art style that we can continue for a while that they're establishing with that.
Yeah, when I saw Pokemon, because they unveiled the cinematic trailer for the most part beforehand, before we actually got to see more of the meat of the gameplay here in the Nintendo Direct. But I thought it was good, showing off the legendaries. I remember one was Zamazenta, one was Zacian, or another one. I can't remember the name of the one with the sword. But it was entertaining to watch. seeing all the fun mechanics. In all honesty, I thought Nintendo, they didn't have the best marketing record, with the Wii U, but with hearing some of their games, they're sitting down with you. Here's what we have. Here's what's good. Here's what's new and that kind of thing. They're walking you through it. And that's resonating with a lot of people. So like this year, I thought, and this is a mainline game. And it's on the Switch. It's not, just on your portable, like handheld right now. So that's cool. And it really, really got me. It really surprised me. But we even had, some others come out at Nintendo Direct, because they showed a lot of games, which you could probably do an entire episode just on that.
Yeah, they
showed
had
so much.
probably almost 30-some games, probably.
A lot. But one of the big reveals they did show, a new character in Smash, Banjo-Kazooie. How do you feel about this next character being added to their roster?
I'm happy for it. I was not a big Banjo-Kazooie person. I played Spyro, I played Ratchet and Clank, I played some of the other ones. Banjo was one I never really got the round to play. But I'm very happy that the fans of that can get it in the game. I know that was a big push for him and everything. So
I can never expect. It always catches me off guard when they add a new character to Smash, because I just don't see it coming. It just pops up. But I was happy when we did get that cloud reveal for the one that happened on the Wii U. But I think it's good. People love character reveals. Guest characters being added to a game. So Nintendo did something right here. But they even have a sequel to 2 years ago, Game of the Year, with Breath of the Wild, the Legend of Zelda sequel. Highlight of show. It was appropriate to show a cinematic on that.
yes. I think it was a good way to end it, because they ended with that, and it was a nice little tease thing. I would have liked to seen something on Metroid 4. We didn't get anything on that. I know they had to kind of go back and restart that one and everything. I would have liked to seen a little bit on that one, but we didn't get it. The one I really enjoyed, and again, this is outside of Nintendo's main thing, which is probably why I liked it a little bit more, was Astral Chain, which is an exclusive.
Yeah, Astral Chain. Yeah,
from Platinum Games. I thought that looked really interesting.
Yeah, no, Astral Chain looked really, really good. And I still was very, very happy that Nintendo, even for Bayonetta 2, they stepped in, saved Platinum Games. All right, we'll take you over, continue making those great games that you do, because Platinum Games is one of my, I would say, favorite studios, but you just don't hear about them very often until they have a game. Then they explode, but then it takes them a while to create another game. But the fact that, they're coming out with this, Nintendo had some really, really great games. If we were just talking about, press conferences aside, when you're talking about like who won E3, game-wise, because of what they showed and how much they showed, I think would be no contest that Nintendo took this year. Just because of how much they showed and the substance of it. They had so many games, characters, and the cherry on top with Zelda. Their heavy hitter, definitely Pokemon. But they're in a really, really commanding position with who they are and what they have. So they didn't need to go too far out the box. But for this year, they're like, we really want you to get a Switch. Here's why. Here are all the games we're making, the exclusives.
Yeah, and it's a good incentive. They've got the games, they can back it now. After the Switch started really well, I think a lot of studios outside of Nintendo are like, this is legit. This is something to invest in, and it's starting to show now. And it's good to see it. I mean, we're getting Mortal Kombat on the Switch and some other stuff.
Which surprised me. And it's not like Mortal Kombat came to the Switch like, all right, you know, we'll get Mortal Kombat maybe 2 years down the line, like what happened on the Wii U when they got games very, very late. But now everything's just coming to the console, so it's, I mean, granted, a lot of people like to take the Switch out, you know, when it comes to the console war between Microsoft and Sony. They're a pretty heavy contender right now, you know, with the games they have coming.
I mean, it's not just a thing of hardware anymore. So, I mean, it's a major player. Don't get me wrong. The hardware is still going to be a major deciding factor for a lot of stuff. But just in terms of games, especially as more things about streaming and everything, where the console itself isn't going to be as big an issue, I think Nintendo is going to have a lot to say.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I'm excited to see what they do because, you know, some of the other ones, you know, aside from, you know, Zelda, I'm a big Luigi's Mansion fan, so they showed Luigi's Mansion 3.
I enjoyed that with the Goo Luigi too.
you can move some of the items around with your vacuum too. Like, I always enjoy playing those games. You know, like when it comes to, I don't really play like Super Mario, like even Mario Odyssey, or I played 3D World, but I'm not really a fan of those, but I really, really enjoyed Luigi's Mansion. So they just had so much to show, and gameplay. If you're looking for a conference that had the most gameplay, without a doubt, it's Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
So you couldn't have walked away this year without watching this conference.
And that's why I would probably agree with you. Even with Microsoft's really heavy showing that we'll get into next, I really think Nintendo knocked it out of the park with that this year.
Absolutely. Now, last but not least.
V, my man, you made it. You blowing up all over the news. Are you alone?
I just want the money.
You got the chip? All right, start her up, Bug. Why don't you go to the bathroom, wash up, we gonna be with you in a minute.
What?
Oh, come on, man. Your neck, it's a mess.
While hotel security has yet to comment, we do know the suspect seems to have fled the scene.
Initiating combat mode.
Go!
Destination confirmed.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about! Alright, in and out, bitches! We're rich! Oh, we are going to the major leagues, Jackie! Jack? Oh, shit! No. Okay, get to a clinic, now.
Mr. Wells' condition is critical.
Go!
Immediate medical
It's gonna
help
be
is
okay,
required.
just hold on. Hey, just think about all the good shit we're gonna have, huh? I'm sorry. Take the fucking chip, Dex.
Every corporal cop in this city's gonna be blasting down these doors after what you and your psycho friend did. We didn't need all this cocksucking attention, damn it.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Now, for the last company that for the second year in a row had a phenomenal press conference, Microsoft. We aren't going to wait any longer, Steve. I personally thought that Microsoft had the most electrifying press conference this year, in my opinion. Tell me about your experience, and we'll break down exactly what they showed.
Well, you already know what I'm going to say. You already know.
I was
Every
giving you
single
honest.
one of these episodes, I still somehow managed to bring Cyberpunk into this conversation. And sure enough, by all means, this definitely took the cake.
Bombshell dropped in Microsoft's
Breathtaking.
The feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future, is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
The one appeared Keanu Reeves. I did not expect that at all.
No, that was they held that and managed to hold that leak really well.
Very well. And that's when you don't have leaks and you're doing E3 the right way, you know, we've already seen gameplay of Cyberpunk, of course, you know, before, but, you know, seeing, you know, more that they have not showed and how big the world is getting, how deep and immersive this game is going to be. And, you know, it's kind of funny because I literally, after I saw Keanu Reeves, you know, come out on stage, I had literally just walked out of seeing John Wick 3. Go see that movie, by the way. I literally just came out of seeing John Wick 3, and then I see Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm like, this man is getting work.
And he's in Toy Story 4. He's a voice in that, so there you go.
Toy Story 4, everyone's loving this guy right now. But that was such a huge moment, you know, in E3, in Microsoft's press conference, that just by that alone, everybody was raging. At that point, standing ovation from everyone, yeah, that's to be expected.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that was just one, you know, with Microsoft, right? That was one with everybody. I was like, that's Keanu Reeves up there? Oh my God. Cam coming out, speaking to the audience. Hey guys, you know, I'm supposed to talk to you about something. You know, it's a little game, Cyberpunk up there, but it was just really, really good. And I thought that Microsoft, you know, aside from Cyberpunk, really wanted to make an impact this year because Sony's not here.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you think their goal was? Because that's not the only thing they showed. We were getting some new hardware also.
Yeah, we got a little bit of hint. It was coming up, next console generation, Project Scarlet, and everything. The Game Pass reveal was nice. I mean, that applies to the console and PC now.
Very true.
And they gave it away for $1. So that means that's a selling point right there.
Oh yeah, that's a huge selling point. And, you know, just the fact that, hey, you know, they have other games showing, you know, because you can't just show off, you know, hey, we're working on our next gen console. Here's what it's called. And they showed some software with Halo Infinite. And they're dropping that as, you know, a launch title, which, in all honesty, I agree. Halo should have always been a launch title because a lot of times people buy, you know, an Xbox. Hey, we want a new Halo. We want to see what Halo.
Well, it's the Mario Brothers for
Nintendo,
and it's Master Sergeant for Xbox. I mean, it's just a given.
Exactly. So the fact that they had that, I thought was really good, and you know, it helped their show out, you know, a little bit, and it was a good reveal because Microsoft was in a really it's hard to say if it was advantageous, but they did have a chance to get, their foot in the door for next year. The fact that, hey guys, here's our next generation console. So now we know what to look forward to. Also,
and again, I think they needed to get that out there because there've already been hints from Sony and everything, and there's no doubt that their actual Sony press conference at the end of the year, they're going to drop it.
Yeah, naturally. So like they had to, and I thought that it was good because not many people knew, like, oh, how's Microsoft going to do? Like, what's their game plan now that Sony's not there? The stage is yours. What are you going to do with it? And I thought they handled it very, very well.
They didn't talk a lot. They showed games. They needed what people wanted. Again, we wanted more gameplay footage, but we still got a lot of games.
It's kind of funny. We're giving, even though there were so many cinematics at this E3, I didn't mind Keanu Reeves' cinematics.
Oh, no. we had 40 minutes of gameplay from Cyberpunk before.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we've got a little bit of something to have looked at. This was a reveal. This is like what I was saying with the Star Wars and EA. They needed to drop something else with it.
Yeah.
Johnny Silverhand. Again, I'm going to show my nerd and all my prior stuff with the actual RPG and everything, knowing his character and everything else. That reveal was huge. Both as the character and just who's playing it.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's great for them. They also announced the game, what's going to be in it. Now, clearly we have our insanely high collector's editions, but they showed you what you're getting in the regular one. And like Witcher 3, you're getting a ton of stuff for your money. And we'll probably be getting a ton of extra DLCs for free. Thank you, CD Projekt Red and everything. Please continue to be who you are. But I mean, it was incredible with that.
And it was good, and they didn't even stop there. I mean, we knew that they were going to show more of Gears 5 at this E3. It's Microsoft, so it's hard for them to have a conference without Gears or Halo being there.
But we showed a mobile game for it too. We have Gears 5. Yes, we have Gears 5. Oh, by the way, here's a Funko Pop. Mobile game with lots of microtransactions.
Each time I hear mobile game now, I'm going to be like, wait, you don't have cell phones?
But I think that took away a lot from it. I don't know why they didn't learn from Blizzard and that debacle that was. E3 is not when you show mobile titles. And I think that took a lot of wind out of the regular Gears reveal.
It did. It really did, because people literally thought that, because it was almost like now the moment you've all been waiting for, where at the end of the conference, you know what's coming, and they show it and it's, Gears, and pops and that kind of thing. And you're like, what is this? What is going on? Excuse me? And they're like, oh, no, that's not the...
That's not the real one. Here's the real... No, you ruined it.
Yeah, like, you can't do that. So I did enjoy what they showed because they showed off more modes, because it's hard to sell people on a console when you're just like, it's another Gears game. So they showed, Escape. They showed gameplay of that, which I thought was pretty good. I really, really enjoyed that. Giving you the type to kind of customize your maps and that kind of thing. Terminator. I thought it looked pretty impressive. I thought it looked really, really good, and it gives you more of a reason to go out and get Gears. Because, they're definitely making more of a push on the story this time around. And also, it looks really good. You set the Venom mine and escape, and you run out, hitting enemies on the way out, almost kind of like your, reverse horde mode, instead of waiting for things, to come to you. So that aspect I really, really enjoyed. And gameplay. The reason people want to watch E3 and the reason people will remember your game is because of the gameplay.
Exactly.
Like, that's really, really important. And, you can talk a lot, but I thought Microsoft really learned a valuable lesson, the fact that let's do a little bit more, less talking, more showing. Because, because they know that a lot of the time, in past E3s that, they talk so much about what they're going to do, what they think it's going to do, but it either doesn't turn out being true, doesn't happen at all, isn't what people expected. Some people were left disappointed. But this time, they wanted to make sure fans left happy. And I thought they did that. Like, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think most of my takeaway from Microsoft was fairly pleasant. Again, we had some of the talk and everything else, but for the most part it was good. A couple little missteps with the Funko mobile game and stuff like that, but I think for the most part they did fairly well with everything.
Yeah, and my friend actually, he summed it up really well. He was like, oh no one won E3. Keanu Reeves won E3. So, no, overall, I mean, it was good.
It's hard to rate this one this year.
Yeah, it really is.
Because I think a lot of ones, they had really good high points, and then everything else was just kind of the same.
Well, there was a lot of stuff missing. Like, kind of like, because overall, when we look at E3 this year as a whole, we wanted more. You know, you got a little bit, teasers, cinematics, they look good, but that's not enough to keep people invested in your game, because not far from now, they're gonna forget, if they haven't forgotten already. And that's just a really, really important aspect that I feel going into future E3s, people need to know. You need to have stuff to show, not just a cinematic trailer, because oh man, I have even though I love cinematics, I have a love-hate relationship with them, because I saw that Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer back in 2006. Saw that a long time ago. And, oh yeah, we showed a little bit of gameplay back then, but, you know, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
No, the game comes out now. Please don't do that. I really hope companies don't get into the habit of just showing cinematics and then we'll show the rest
And
later.
again, I think it's a thing that comes with E3. We have to have something to show the public, even when there's nothing ready to show. So we make a cinematic trailer.
Yeah. So hopefully they they learn from it, man. And this is a better E3. I would probably rate this E3. I think it is slightly above average at best.
7.
Oh well, yeah. Actually, yeah, I'll give it a 7 for Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Because it was originally a 6. if it wasn't.
No,
there.
I think it can get a 7. The high points definitely helped get it up. I mean, you had Final Fantasy VII, you taught Cyberpunk. I think there was enough high points to get it over the midway hump, but there was enough to drag it back down that I can't see getting anything higher than a 7.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, it was just the part of the reason when I was thinking about my score, I was like, Final Fantasy VII took like 5 of those points, while Keanu Reeves took the others. So no, it was an okay show. Like, I think it's worth watching, but you're really gonna have to like bookmark and probably save some of these cinematics so you can even remember what some of these games are. And hopefully they show more on them so we can be able to look forward to them, because you can only do so much with cinematic trailers because it doesn't show anything. So, you know, only time will tell for next year. Before we wrap up, I'd like to thank you, Steve, for joining me on the show.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. And thank you all for tuning in with us today. I'm extremely hyped for some of these upcoming games. My wallet can't really take it, but until next time, I'll see you all on the next episode of Versus Gaming.
Bye.
We own the cops.
Break that something, Fritz.